The Wiz walks into a bar. Pamela, welcome.
Hi, thanks.
Oh my gosh, it's so wonderful to have you. So I brought you this Las Vegas Distillery Nevada whiskey.
I love it. I've never had this.
I know you haven't because I had to, obviously we can't get it in New York. We have to only get it from Vegas. And so when I was there, I got it and you were just in Vegas.
I was just there, yes.
So I felt like a couple of Vegas girls could have a little bit of Vegas whiskey.
I love it. Let's pour it out.
Let's pour it out. So we'll, and I'm gonna prepare you. It's something, Vegas is not known for their spirits, let's say.
It's not known for the whiskey distillation?
It's not really known for that, but definitely we're gonna try it neat as you would. And then
I'm always here for a good time. I'm here to they say fuck around and find out. So
Bam, I get in trouble for saying fuck too much. And I have a hoodie that says fuck around and find out. So I'm like, damn it, see, but I wore my ring because
I think that initiated. I was just like, I feel this vibe.
I'm gonna go right.
Perfect.
You go
So
left.
I go.
Yes. Okay. So cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to the Wiz being here.
Let's go.
Cheers to a couple of Vegas girls. It's been a minute. Let's try this.
First we smell. This is great.
Pamela Wiznitzer, welcome to Now We Sip Champagne.
Hey.
Yeah.
Now we sip whiskey.
Yeah, now we sip whiskey, Las Vegas whiskey. So
Yeah.
let me just start off by saying what an honor it is to have you here. Sometimes people that, the term fangirl. I've always been a big fangirl of yours. I moved to New York a little bit under 20 years ago. When I first moved out to New York, I opened up a nightclub. That's why I came out. I was born and raised in Vegas. And then I ended up working for the Yankees. And then when I got into the cocktail scene, and going to all the cocktail bars when I was ready to open up, it was your name that was everywhere. And then I started just following you and I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. She's this hit woman that's running shit in cocktails. And, before we even met, I was already just a big fan of the way you carried yourself, the way you spoke about cocktails, how passionate you were. Especially being from Vegas, it was not a big cocktail scene world, and I was always passionate about cocktails. And then to see you, you were like my idol. So having you here is a big deal for me. So I'm like.
Well, thank you. That's insanely humbling. It's just so funny because I consider you on peer colleague, friend level. Do you know what I mean? I feel especially over the past years, we were just talking about your first bar is so close to my house, and it's something I would frequent a lot because on the Upper East Side we didn't have cocktails as much. I had Seamstress, and then UES popped up. So I think it's mutual admiration, right? Especially when you see incredible genius and hustle in the industry. There's nothing you can do but really stand back in awe and just think, how can I support that person? Or how can I be there to step up for that person? I think I've learned over the years in this industry, there is quite a bit of jealousy that exists and quite a bit of this, with jealousy comes this tear down mentality. And I try to do everything I can on the opposite side to always reinforce the ideas of support, collaboration, to be there for one another because everyone's doing epic shit. We should just be there to say yes. Keep going. Let's go.
Yeah, touching on that, you're 100% right, and I think you also know that in our industry, and I say this a lot, but it's a boys' club, and it's certainly my journey of opening up a place. It was not easy. It was my own. It took me 3 years and 3 years of no's. I was turned down by every agent. I was turned down by every landlord. They didn't want anything to do with me because I was just on my own and didn't have a partner or somebody rich behind anything. And so it was a lot of no's from a lot of guys. And then, I love the Upper East Side. That's where I moved to. When I moved to New York, I was so passionate about the neighborhood. And you're right. We didn't have cocktail bars. We have Auction House and we had Seamstress.
Well, not a lot of bad dates at Auction House.
Yeah, well, the Auction House with their dark curtains. Is that,
it could be so much better.
He doesn't care. He's
he's
but
one of those ain't broke, don't fix,
That's exactly it. And I remember when, because I lived right next door at 310, and I remember one time it was a girl, she was losing her mind because she was under 25, and they don't let you in if you're under 25.
Correct.
I'm like, damn, to be able to have those types of rules, he does his thing.
Respect.
So, yeah. But so then I opened up because that the Upper East Side too is predominantly a lot of Irish pubs, a lot of bars, sports bars and stuff. And there wasn't, and so I came in with all the pink and all the ice cream. And I did it because I wanted to be on the neighborhood. And a lot of people were like, well, take the speakeasy downtown, those are downtown.
You definitely were a trendsetter of the area in the time because there wasn't much. If we're talking about New York City dynamic, what you were doing was much more of something people expect it in Williamsburg, downtown, West Village, East Village, Lower East Side, right? But like to place that on in a residential neighborhood-esque place like the Upper East Side, that's such a big risk.
Yeah, really, it was. It was, but, it's paid off and it continues to pay off. You were talking about the pandemic, and I can tell you that, like, I built the place because I love the Upper East Side. I called it UES because it stood for Upper East Side, and then I like gave it to the neighbor. Like, this is your cocktail bar. This is your ice cream shop. And I can tell you that that ice cream shop saved my life mentally, spiritually. Like during the pandemic when everything was shut down, since we had ice cream, it was deemed that we could stay open because it was food. And it was like we
I know,
had
I was very grateful because that's how I was able to get my cocktail fix.
yeah, well, thank you, because it was a neighborhood that kept us going, that kept us
Well,
alive.
second out, okay, what people don't know about the pandemic is that everybody thinks all the cool shit happens in New York City downtown. The party was on the Upper East Side every day between 4 to 7 p.m. on 2nd Avenue. You can attest to this.
Yes.
I like would go on the street with my dog, would have our mask on, and it was just like people up and down. Like people were throwing each other drinks. The one guy kept giving me a beer every day. Like any bar that could have a bar outside was doing it. And we had crowded streets.
Oh, I know. Oh, I know, because the 19th precinct would call me. I had a couple of friends and they were like, "Can you tell Rathbones to stop getting the 311 calls?" Because they were just, and then Green Kitchen. But we were.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that
The
shit?
biggest innovation of the pandemic was the Green Kitchen diner becoming a bar.
A bar, club. It was the place to go. Like, whoa, pandemic.
I'd be gagged every day. I walk outside and there'd be all these people like huddled around the bar or Green Kitchen. I was
Yeah.
like, y'all, this is a diner.
What's happening
This
right
is a
now?
diner. But it was great. It was this like really. It was this really special and unbelievable time. It's like a time capsule moment to me to
Yeah.
be there, to witness it. I think especially working in hospitality, to not leave New York, to stay put, to support the bars and restaurants. I was I was running around town. My friends were like, "We have a bar open outside." I'd be like, "Great, as long as my bladder can hold anything, I'll be there." My limit was about 3 hours, but I would just go and support. I get cocktails to go. Like you had all
Yeah.
those cute vessels, obviously, with our drinks, and we just found beautiful, innovative ways to keep us all afloat
And
during
connected.
during the hardest time.
Yeah.
And it was a really special time to be in New York City because the real ones stayed.
Yeah.
The real ones stayed and supported.
So it's so you say that because like UES had only been open for 2 years. I fought for 3 years to get that place. I went through an insane because that space was 2 studio apartments and a threading salon. And so I took all 3, and the demo turned out to be, even the landlord didn't know, when we blew through the wall of the 2 studio apartments, the pillars that were holding up, they were structural. So now if you take the pillars down, the building collapses.
Correct.
So like he didn't know because the family had acquired the building like in the 70s, so they hadn't done any, of the survey. So it ended up, and it was crazy. And this was like before you did reels and had video. I wish I had a video of how many guys it took to take this steel beam into UES and like put it up. Like I had never seen anything like it, obviously up until that day. But it had only opened for 2 years, and UES, knock on this wood chair here, it hit, it really hit, and
It still hits.
it still hits. And so when it closed, everyone's like, take it to Miami. Even my bar manager, she was like, she and her boyfriend at the time, he was a bar manager at Mace, and they were like, can we go work in Miami? It's still open. I'm like, of course, of course I can't. And then I had an offer from somebody to take the entire concept and move it. I was like, yo, I can't leave New York. I fought to be here. This is my home.
I want to be here.
I want to be here.
I wanna be here.
I didn't just name this UES to take it to MIA. Like, what are you guys talking about? I can't leave. So
Although the NYC to MIA pipeline is real strong.
it is real strong. We know how strong it is. And, something, I still may consider, but I still just wasn't ready to leave after fighting so hard to get there. And then, so it's funny you talk about that. I'm not sure, maybe you do, but Elizabeth Sutton, she's an artist. She's an Upper East Sider. And I had gone to her gallery, and she has this piece of art of brick wall, and it was a blue fire escape that I fell in love with. And I just had her on, and we collaborated on the wallpaper out with the giraffes. And when I saw it, the brick and the fire escapes brought me back to the pandemic, and it brought me back to, again, like I said, quintessential New York, where we remember everyone on their fire escapes banging their pots and pans. And like, I also remember multiple nurses emailing us, UES, saying, thank you for keeping the lights on, because we were their walk to the queue.
Yeah.
And so 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, the neighborhood was closed. And you remember Second Avenue being equally activist as it was fun because we had a lot of marches. I remember boarding the windows up in June because riots were happening and things were happening. Like our neighborhood went through a lot,
Yeah,
and
it was a very transitional time.
yeah,
It was a
yes.
very transitional time.
But again, you stay with what you love, just like a marriage, just like anything, you have to fight for, you have to continue to make that choice. And I wasn't ready. And so, and I say this a lot. I say when in hospitality, if a guest chooses you, they've, put on their outfit, they've gotten ready, they've made the reservation, they have chosen you for their special moment or for anything, you have to choose them right back.
Yeah.
And I chose the Upper East Side and they chose us back. The amount of like Zoom cocktails, because yeah, I wanted to make it fun because everyone was doing cocktails to go, but that's always part of the brand is like make it wacky, put it in a bear, put it in a Lego, put it in something. And the resounding response from and support from the Upper East Side, it was just like, it kept me alive, honestly. And my
Yeah.
best friends who had all been put out of work, of course, we're all like scooping ice cream. And my one girlfriend, she's a professional pastry chef. She was doing like the bar prep in the back. And, my ex, he was a personal trainer, but he had a car. So he took us around driving. So we would do like champagne baskets for birthdays and things. So yeah, the Upper East Side. I live downtown now, but will always have the biggest place in my heart. Like I'll always be an Upper East Sider. There's just something very special always happens on the Upper East Side, and that's obviously where you're from, and not where you're from, but where are you from?
I have a very funny I have a very funny background because I was born in New York, technically. I was born in Queens, and I was there for about like 2 years before we moved to Cleveland, Ohio, to Shaker Heights. So I came back here for college when I was 18. I always loved New York and I resonated with it. And there's these hysterical videos of me as a kid, like 2, 3 years old, with this like little tiny New York accent in this like little kid body. I came back to New York for college and I had to stay. Like there was nowhere else I wanted to be. So technically I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah. Oh, technically, a Queens, New Yorker, which
Technically, I'm
is
a New
like,
York. It's funny because
yeah.
people are like, "What defines you as a New Yorker?" Some people are like, "Oh, once you've been here for 10 years, once you've been spit on by a random stranger."
Once you
There's
cry on the subway,
yeah,
right? That's
once you
one.
cry in the subway or in the middle of Central Park.
Yep.
These are all these markers. But then some people really say it's like you have to be born here or raised here. So when I tell people I'm born here but not raised here, they're like, "You're not a real New Yorker." But
No.
the truth is that the majority of my life has been in the city. The majority of my life has actually been on the Upper East Side because after college I moved to the Upper East Side and I loved it and I just haven't left. So I've lived because I'm only 21. It's so weird, but
I had to card you when you walked in. So
I know the face is facing then. But I've lived most of my life at this point in my definitive years and everything else has shaped me has been in New York City.
yeah, and I think you also know though that while that's true, it's also not because there's the type of New Yorker that was born here, raised here, fine, but then there's the type of New Yorker that comes here and stitches and New York on their heart. Like I was born in Vegas, but I'm a New Yorker, and there's no two ways about it. It doesn't, I've been here. Yeah, we could say the 10-year thing that's in the past, but it's those that come here and love it with their whole heart and soul. And my mom, she was born in Canada, but she went to Vegas when she was young, and she has missed Las Vegas. This woman couldn't live anywhere else. She couldn't be anywhere else. She's Canadian, but she's a Vegas girl, whereas I'm a New Yorker. You're a New Yorker. And listen, once you've, like I said, you fought for the city to be in the city, you're more of a New Yorker than somebody that maybe was like born here and they can take that.
And you know what? It's not really like an Olympics. We're not trying to compare
Yeah.
who's more than another. What I like to say where I have a lot of pride is the fact that being raised in the Midwest is a really phenomenal place on lots of levels. And look, classic suburbs, right? Which could be anywhere. It could have been like in New Jersey, with the suburbs, the way they are. But there is this mentality about the Midwest of this like overarching kindness and like looking out for a stranger and like everything moves at a bit of a slower pace.
Yeah.
And I always like to say I have like my Midwest morals and values, but I have my exterior city flair and smarts and brains. And it's kind of like the best of everything because it gives me the ability to like really go through the city with like no fear, just being the bold person I am. But I have this like really, really deep consideration for people. And whether that comes from just like my upbringing, from being from Ohio, I think it's like probably the best combination ever to
Yeah.
to be here in this city, which is great.
Well, and it obviously, we're in the hospitality business where we are hospitable and everyone is your
Well,
guest.
you hope we're hospitable.
Well, we try to.
I've had
You're
some I've had some gnarly good situations here where I'm just like, why are you in hospitality?
Oh, we definitely have that where it's sometimes you hit this point where you're like, I say this too, like there's a lot of professions out there where you don't have to smile every day. You don't have to be welcoming every day.
Right.
You could sit at a computer. You can be an editor. You can be a content creator. You can work on your own schedule.
And look, not every day is going to be a great day. I
No.
fully give that. I give that to people, right? Not every day is going to be an incredible day. That's fine. But I feel like the one thing is that when you decide that you want to work in hospitality, the biggest component of it is that it's not about you. And it's never going to be about you anymore. You are a part of a bigger machine. You are a part of being with people and making sure people have an incredible experience. So it is not about you and your ego and yourself. So if you are somebody who, and it's fine to be self-centered. I'm here for every kind of person in this world. But if you know that you care about yourself above anything else or more than anything else in your ego, this isn't going to be it. At
Okay,
least
so
front of house.
let me take a sip and let's talk some shit because I'm going to tell you right now. um, This is what I found of some of the bartenders behind some of these cocktail bars. And I know you know what I mean, where you walk in and yes, I know that you have a talent and a skill. I know that you worked hard because yes, cocktails, I always say, you're working to put something beautiful on a plate the same way a chef would work, excuse me, in a glass that a chef would work on a plate. I know that there's skill and talent behind that. But when you get to a place where you're working at one of these cocktail bars that are always written about and you're that bartender and you can't even smile like, bro, yeah, the cocktail is good, but like I also want to come in here and be like, how are you? And just how are things? That we kind of got away from what that was. What the bar was always your therapist, your singles place, your couples place, but you go to the bar to connect. You go to the bar to connect. Nobody, bars didn't exist so that you had the most amazing cocktail that just like, changed your life. You went to connect to somebody sitting next to you, somebody sitting across from you. You wanted to get out of your own head. You wanted that
Yeah.
connection. And I feel like you're right. That ego thing, we all know that there's some, and I say bartenders are egomaniacs because yes, they're the gods. They give you the goods and they have worked hard. And some of them, if they're super flair or they've done something to, level up their skills, I get it. But
You know what's funny? I think managers are way more egotistical than bartenders. I'll stand by that. But
okay.
that's a personal feeling. We're in a really interesting time right now because we're in a very big time of disconnect. And it has everything to do with technology and it has everything to do with situations plaguing the millennial and Gen Z structures. And with the level of anxiety in this world, financial scrutiny because of increasing in pricing, the worry that we have, technology, TikTok, Instagram, like we are disconnecting more and more and more, and our anxiety is peaking. And with that, we've also had major, and this will all come together in a second. We've had major growth in the hospitality industry. There are more bars to go to than ever before. There are more restaurants to go to than ever before. There are more coffee and matcha places to go to than ever before, non-alc bars. So what we used to do is you used to have a Cheers. You used to have your local bar. That was your place. And you would go in and they knew you. And you didn't have to think like, I have to go try every cocktail at the new bar. I have to go see this new place. I have to go. You had your spot and you were happy and content going there. And the bartenders had the opportunity to get to like really know you. Because even 5 years ago, what our phones had the capacity to do pales in comparison to what they can do now as a standalone friend with AI and everything else.
Right.
You're never alone.
Right.
But before we could put them away because we were better at engaging. So what bartenders are now dealing with is a lot of guests, sometimes they don't even have the social skills and capacity to relate to the bartenders like they used to, like when you and I were really actively behind bars back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And which is a really big issue. And then everyone's not connecting in the space. That's creating frantic energy in the first place. And then you're not seeing your regulars as often because everyone's trying to like, we'll go to this new bar to say they went to it, to post about it, whatever. It's like we're losing that authentic engagement. So we're just in this very strange pattern of holding. So, so bartenders are trying to put themselves out there so they can draw more people to come in. So yeah, so as we see ego, we do, but it's also this like call out to be like, I'm here, come see me. Like, and so many things just are getting lost in translation. It's like, it's a really trying time.
Well, obviously everything you said just like it hits 100% and you're right. And this is something that I know that you've discussed at multiple lengths and so have I. And we all feel that as a society, especially being in an industry where we do crave connection and in a city where we crave connection. But yes, it is that. We get asked all the time. I know you know that people are drinking less, which we don't necessarily mind for bar owners. That's difficult. That can be difficult. People are especially after the pandemic, a lot of people did go online to live online, to create online, to work online. It is their
100%.
entire start to finish of their day is on their phone, and you we are missing that as society. This, I have a very strict no phones at the dinner table rule, right? Because I'm a person that like I'm on my phone, I'm asleep and I'm on my phone. But I have to be able to have that discipline. If I go out with my mother, she wants like one picture of food, but then anybody that sits down with me, they know it's off the table. Like I can't even see it. Because if I pick it up for 1 second, it's never 1 second. Then you're there and you're
Yeah.
not there. And I'm like, if I can't put my phone down for an hour and a half or an hour to like look at the person that I'm with, like I don't want to lose that. And
I'm the same way as you, by the way. If I'm out to dinner or lunch or breakfast or something, when I'm with a friend, I'm locked and loaded. And the only
yeah,
times I'm gonna touch it is like if there's a funny picture, then I ask them if it's okay for me to show you the picture.
yeah,
Because it's respecting their time and boundary. Like I was out with a friend recently for dinner and the friend took their phone out 4 times to text someone on the side. And I just blatantly said to the friend, I said, is there someone you have to talk to besides me
yeah,
right now? And is it imperative and are they dying?
yeah,
And I don't mind, I don't care. I'll say it.
yeah,
Just because I find like time to be such a precious commodity. I want to be here. I want to
yeah.
be so present. And I do think that is so hard for us right now. And the question is going to be like, what can we do?
Ye-
How do we shift this? Are there any solutions? Are there any solves?
Well, I think that just like with anything, right? So everything requires discipline. Of course, the foods that are not great for you taste amazing and you could eat candies, cookies, or whatever you like every single day, but you have to practice discipline. Otherwise, we would all
I
gain.
have no discipline for candy.
Okay, well, it doesn't look like it. So good for you. You got discipline somewhere, but
Ah!
we have to practice some mental discipline
For
to be able
sure.
to
For sure.
connect.
For
And
sure.
like you said, yeah, I'm very strict on that. And because if we don't fight for connection, we'll lose it. And we all see the same shit on Instagram, and we all see the same things. You saw the first AI speed dating, that Secret posted about, and you're like, all right, I get it. I don't, but I get it. You understand that the one thing I do like about like technology, about let's just say chat, GPT, you can dump your thoughts 24 hours a day. And sometimes that's all you need to do is just to be able to go somewhere to dump them. If you get to a place, because like you said, anxiety is up, these types of things are up, the pressure is up. And let's not forget, we choose the city. So this is a city, my sisters, they live in Council Bluffs, Iowa. So talking about that Midwest and talking about that
Yes, you
slowdown.
get it.
So yeah, and so when I go there, it's a totally different world, a totally different pace. You're walking, talking, you're operating at a different pace. You can drive by nothing before you see something. And whereas we're here, we're like something, 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 something. So we choose this pace. We like this pace. Our types of personalities, we want that challenge. We want to constantly be stimulated.
Yeah.
But at the same time, just as much as we want to choose fast, we need to choose slow. We need to equally make it a choice to choose slow, whether that's meditation, whether that's, I don't want to. I don't want to lose the human inside of me, right? And
Totally.
that's like something that I do fight for. I make sure, especially like when you own businesses or when you're running things, you have to be strong. And sometimes that's, putting emotion or putting your feelings aside. Like you said, you have to be professional. But then at the same time, you have people that are looking up to you and they are following in your path or they want to learn from you. And so I always like, make it a point to show that human side, the emotion, like when things are rough or, like I opened Champagne Problems and this has been the hardest opening, the hardest thing I've ever done. I'm so broke. I put every single dollar I ever made in this
So
place.
everybody come to Champagne
Yeah.
Problems and
Yeah.
please spend lots of money here and support. Thank you.
If the Wiz said it, you should do it. So just saying, they don't call it for the Wiz for nothing. It's important because I know that a lot of people, they aspire to open their own. They aspire to have their own. I'm like, all right, but this is what it feels like. It's really scary. It's really, lonesome. Anyway, the point is to not lose that human connection. And I also feel like though that the pendulum swings. I feel like the pendulum swings, and I agree, but I think that I don't know if I've seen a lot of these dance parties, these no phone dance parties that are showing up. I've seen a lot of these where our generation especially, they're like sick of it because yeah, yes, with the influencers and with the gram and with talk and all that stuff, like it can be a very powerful business tool.
There's pros and cons to everything, and I'm not going to be here to like poo poo technology, like because I use it a lot for work that I do. But I do think there's a difference between authenticity
Yeah.
and disingenuous fronts, and I think that a big fault and flaw of influencer culture is how disingenuous so much of it is. I don't know. You've had your own fair share of interacting with influencers. I have done many events for influencers and met a lot of those people, and there is a very quick divide between the people who like you can see just put it on straight for the camera to create this false front of like what they want people to see what their life is like when it's not genuinely like that, and then like the real baddies, right? And I do think that that's a bit of the harm of technology is like having people buy into this falsehood, right? But there are beautiful outlets. Like there's bars have every opportunity now to literally put themselves out there and connect and get people to discover them more than ever before. And I always say this, if a bar is not taking advantage of using social media and technology to reach new consumers, to let your staff get creative with the posts that they're doing, to show off your teammates. Like when I had Seamstress, we put out hysterical videos on YouTube, and this is like well before any of this was actually happening, right?
Hmm.
Like we were putting out like hysterical funny videos that we shot, these little silly things, and people loved it, and it was a big reason they wanted to come in. We'd put it like on Instagram back in the day, like before Reels or anything were on there, and
Hmm.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
Uh, and people loved it. And I think that because my whole thing was with my team, as I said, there are such dynamic personalities behind me, and I want those to shine. I want people to feel like they know them and for them to feel like they can be their silly selves. And it worked. It was
Yep.
a great tactic, and I see people utilizing that now. So, I mean, that's where I hope we're using this tool. And then in other ways, like you said, I hope we're finding abilities like to be within those spaces without being on that the whole time and being as present as we can.
Yes. And I'll tell you, one of the Penrose, they switched up their socials where it's personal, and they're doing exactly what you said. And I love the way that they're going about their dynamic and how they're putting themselves online. Like I have run all the socials, and I have not utilized, like you said, I've wanted to give it to somebody to take it over. I'm like, I don't know anything about TikTok. So it's something where I know is like a blind spot for me, where I agree. If you're not using it as a tool, at the same time, people have asked me before, they're like, oh, do you, make these places for Instagram? I'm like, no, I just happen to make these places, and people just happen to like to take pictures. Like, I made that ice cream shop door not knowing it was going to be one of the most TikTok doors, not thinking about, because of course that wasn't even a thing. I remember in the pandemic, my niece is like, she's like, you're on TikTok. I was like, what is that? And she sent me, it was this girl who made a video in her pajamas, and she goes into she's like, hey, I'm just here for ice cream. Like, why is everybody dressed up in here? And it was like hilarious. And I got
That's
all these,
really funny.
oh my God, it was so funny. And this girl of course went viral, which, I didn't even know what that meant at the time, but it was like hilarious. It hit it on the head. And so yeah, I definitely agree that it's a great tool, should be utilized for businesses. And yes, to your point about influencers, I never really played that game. I in 8 years in 3 venues, I have maybe comped less than 10 experiences.
That's great.
And I can tell you that out of that 10, maybe 2 of them felt good, and the rest of them, they either didn't tip the staff, or it was something, it just felt cheap. It always just felt like it doesn't honestly feel good for you to post about us after we've given you something for free. I would rather have the real review, the real, I find that, someone that posts that doesn't have a lot of influence or followers, it's more organic. They love it. They love the ice cream, or they love the cocktail, and then it just feels more authentic, like you said.
100%.
It really feels like, listen, if you really like my place and you want to post about it, because yes, you do want to bump up your page. We want you to to be a content creator and do all that. But I don't know, how genuine is it if I just gave you everything for free? I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes they'll be like, this place sucks, but not really. So then how can you trust that if every place is the best place that you've ever been to, but every place
Especially when you have like, oh my God, I'm not going to gatekeep this anymore. I can't wait to tell you all about this incredible place I found on the Bowery. Come with me while I'm going. And you're like, oh my God, not again.
Shit. And then you
Not
look at the
again.
last reel and the last reel, then come with me, guys. Come. Oh gosh, come
Get
with
ready
me.
with me to have champagne problems all night long. And you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But look, it is a different time. And I think the biggest thing, and I always say this about the hospitality world, is that you have to adapt. Adapt or die. Evolve or die. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's just where we're at. So these people who are fighting the system right now and fighting it hard, you're not going to win out. But if you find ways to keep being your authentic self, your authentic business, offer the things that you do, have the visions that you do, and then use it as a tool as an outlet for exposure and fun, you're gonna win. You're gonna win the game.
Okay, well, let me just tell you who's a big winner. Have you ever heard of a woman named Linda Richmond?
Oh yeah,
Have you ever heard of a little show called Coffee Talk? Let me
we
tell
love
you.
it.
So,
We love
because
the old. We love the
let's
old
bring it
stuff.
back to you, because this is about you. This is and talking about fangirling and everything you just said about being authentic and coming through. You were the pioneer of this shit. Your videos in your apartment. I mean, you took that shit to another level, and it birthed, I feel like, out of the pandemic is when we really saw them. But your coffee talk, the one you did from Flashdance, oh my God, I live for that Flashdance video. But you, and back to what you said about being a kid and, you know, having an accent and stuff, you were always so brave to put yourself out there to become, you're a bartender, a bar creator, but you're a creator, and the content that you create is like is gold. And you know, you hear this all the time, you can't be a career bartender. Yes, you can, because like you've created multiple careers out of just not just making drinks, but you've created a bar culture, you created a bar story, and then your Instagram is like gold. I live for those videos. You get creative every single time. Every single time it's like, you know, one of your videos is like you're creating a new cocktail and it comes through, and like more so is like how brave you are, knowing exactly who you are, not giving a shit, putting it out there, and like the world loves it. I love that shit. So
I was like TikToking before TikTok was around.
yes, I'm saying,
and it's like
like
kind of sad because like had TikTok been around, I feel like more people would have been able to see the stuff. But I don't. I did it not for like exposure, quote unquote, and growth. I did it during a time when there was so much pain that we just needed to laugh.
oh my God.
And I always found laughter. This is like deep within my Jewish soul, my Jewish neshama, we say, is we have always been a resilient people in times of traumatic, horrific situations happening around us as Jewish people. Like comedy and the arts was always like a way that we would deliver. Like you can see it at like back in like vaudeville, like, you know, like even the show Funny Girl is about like Fanny, who like was a huge vaudeville actress, and her whole thing was about comedy, about shtick. Like we've always been that way. That's like literally there's a coping mechanism. So when the pandemic hit, and we were stuck in our apartments, I had two mindsets. I was like, I can sit here and be upset that like I can't go places, or I can figure out ways to thrive. And I was like, I'm gonna thrive. And I started seeing these bartenders start making all these like how to make an old fashioned video. And I've always told people like I really want a cocktail show. Like I think I'd be good at a cocktail show. And I was like, why? Why does anybody want to watch you make an old fashioned? What are you gonna teach them? What are you doing on top of it? What's different? So I kept seeing this and I said, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to show everybody, if you're going to do it the best.
Yep.
And do it different. And so I did. And the videos were birthed out of, there was a company called Broadway Roulette, a female-run tech company that you would pay like $40 and you'd like spin this wheel, and then you would just get a show. Like you didn't know. It was like a guess who like situation, but it was fun because you'd be like, I don't care what I want to see. Go see something.
Yeah.
So when the pandemic hit, I reached out to them and I was like, hey, this is obviously a very hard time. You're a tech startup. Is there anything we can do to collaborate? I really believe in the power of collaboration. I think it's the only way we should be doing things nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, and they were like, I don't know, maybe you can like make a cocktail video and we can do a Broadway thing. And I was like, I have an idea. And that's how the first video was born. I was like, I'm going to make a martini in the style of Chicago because it'll be so funny. So the first video was literally just, I didn't know how to edit a video. I was like, I'm just going to shoot it. I don't know the actual Fosse choreography, but I can make some things up and I'm just going to be funny. And people loved it.
Loved it.
Loved it.
Loved
Like even like
it.
weird ass celebrities like reached out to, and they were just like, this is so funny. I was like, this is so weird.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing it because people found joy. and people were learning. And I was like, wow, joy and learning together in the same thing is so powerful. So I kept doing it. And I would just take all these hysterical music videos, I did a lot of musicals first
Mhm.
because I was doing it with Broadway Roulette. And then I was like, anything I could use to make somebody laugh, I would do it. And I also was fun. It was a fun educational tool. People were literally learning how to make
Cocktails.
cocktails.
Yep.
I have like a Rolodex of like 50 some videos that I produced, and people are like, we miss those. I was like, I miss them too. I don't have the
Yeah.
time
That's
to do it now. I mean, if someone wanted to pay me a lot of money each time, I would keep creating these, but
yeah.
it's not how the world works. But it was it's again a time capsule. Like I'm so glad I have these now as a model just to show that like you can be completely resilient.
You should be getting paid for
Yes.
those things. We gotta figure out this way because I
Like
honestly
I think some things I think there's some things that are just really wonderful to say like this is my contribution to community.
yeah, yes, and it obviously, I say that you can teach a lot of things, but we're all born with our own genetic cocktail. Some things live within; they're inherent, like how we come out, and it is who you are, like you said, through your blood and through your family and through your heritage to always overcome. And when you're, like my family's Syrian, we're Arabic. We're always, there's always bombs being thrown. You gotta
Correct.
just find joy. We find joy with food. We find joy with
Also,
music.
and incredibly resilient people. Like,
Yeah,
you
so
know,
it's I definitely speak to that and understand that, and that's also why th- this industry of connection, and it always, like at dinner my dad is belly dancing at the end of it, and he's drinking arak, and it's like one of these like loud things
naturally,
naturally. So
I want to
uh
come to dinner.
yeah, oh my God, because he still does. So I just threw him a 70th birthday party in Vegas, and he was out dancing, out smoking, out drinking,
We're like,
absolutely everyone. Yeah,
yeah.
that's 100%.
I hope that was really loud.
That's obviously why my mom fell in love with him at the club. They met in the club, they moved in, and like
Hmm.
here I am. So, but back to you, like all that stuff really shows. It always shows, and it's a different way of you could say bartending. And Ariel is the one that always says it's so much more about not just like getting drunk at a bar, but it goes back to again connection and the way you're connecting with people. And sometimes you need to be reminded. Like I don't even know if I've ever told you before about how much those videos meant to me as somebody that like I'm not good I just made my profile like public. I'm trying these videos. I'm making my mom dance every chance I get just
That's
to like
great.
try
I
to
love
like
that.
you said, to get into it because I never did.
Just show off who you are.
Yeah, well, but for you, it just yeah, it's just something that you're born with. It's always been. But all right, so now I want to take it all the way back because I want to know the first bar story. I want to know the very first bar that you worked at and how you got into bars.
Oh, the very first one? Well,
Mhm.
technically speaking, I am a very proud graduate of the Columbia Bartending Academy
Okay.
at Columbia University.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and when I
Wow.
was a junior, my junior year, my friends were in charge of it. My friends were literally teaching the classes, and they were like, "Hey, Pam, if you pay $120, you can take class every Thursday for the next 5 weeks, and then at the end, we'll wheel all the booze back to the office, and we'll pregame there before going out. So it's basically going to pay for itself." And I was like, "Hell
I'm
yeah!"
in.
I was
Yeah.
like, "We're college students. We're here in New York City college students. Like, this is the best deal I could possibly get." So I paid $120 and I took the class and I actually like loved it. Now we weren't learning how to make the most high-end drinks. I was learning Sex on the Beach and a Blue Whale martini.
Shit.
I will say
Columbia.
I mean, it was 2005, 2006. I will
Yeah.
say this right now. I have seen the updated manual from the Columbia Bartending Academy, and now they know how to make every class. Like, it is not what I had back 20 years ago.
Right.
It is fully revamped, and it's amazing.
Yes. I guess you teaching that.
I'd like to say I'm probably their finest graduate.
I'd say so. I
There are a lot of legends that came out of Columbia University, like Giuseppe Gonzalez and Lynette Marrero and Karen Fu went to Barnard with me. Like, there's a lot of us,
Oh wow.
but I know that none of them did the Columbia Bartending Academy. So I did the class. If you place in the top 5% of the people in class, you get to be in the agency. And so I placed in the top 5%. And so would do some bartending gigs. I mostly was my sorority house's bartender. And then after college, I would start bartending. I don't I think it was still around when you were on the Upper East Side. Do you remember Thin Lizzie?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
Tin Lizzie.
Tin Lizzie.
Tin
Yeah,
Lizzie.
Tin Lizzie.
Tin Lizzie was a bar, 2nd Avenue between 85th and 86th. And my first year after school, I had an event planning job, and they were like, "Hey, if you want to come on Saturday nights, you can bartend in the back bar." and any money you make, you keep, and we'll pay you like an additional $50. Just bring your friends. And I said, okay. So I would bartend for like an hour and a half, and it wasn't real bartending. It was like throwing drinks between there. I'd make $250, and then just we'd head out for the night.
Oh my gosh.
So I was doing that, and everything was cool until the recession hit. And then I lost my job, and I had a job lined up in publishing, which is what I wanted to do, children's educational publishing. And I had this whole job at Penguin, and I was so excited. And then I got released from my other job that I was at that I hated. And my two friends used to do a guest bartending shift at a bar in Murray Hill called Bar 12. And they said to me, well, Pam, my friend Christian, actually, and it's funny, he owns a bar now. Christian goes, we can get you a daytime shift at that sports bar in Murray Hill if you want, because you know how to bartend from the agency. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I started, and I remember Eric, who's still a very good friend of mine, the manager, literally sat me down for the interview, and he goes, this is the daytime shift. It's not great. Not a lot of people come in. It's like, a lot of people don't like this. It's going to be Monday to Friday. Do you want it? And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And I grew that puppy into a beast of a bar shift. I would walk out cash in hand, like so much cash, because it was all mine. Because I was the only one. I would cut Cambros of limes and lemons every shift because I was the bar. There's no bar back. I was setting up for everyone during the day. I loved it. I was beasting, and my parents were like, what is she doing? She has 2 college degrees. What is going on?
Yeah.
And I just like remember the turning point was, I think it was 2010. There was a Time Out New York magazine cover that showed like the voices of mixology, the voices of bartending. And it was like Jason Luttrell was on the cover. Steve Schneider was on the cover holding this like money bag. And there was all these men and Megan Dorman.
Oh, shit. Amazing.
And I just remember, and I didn't know any of them at this point. I'm like just going to USBG meetings. Like I'm trying to get in that world, but I'm not in. I just remember seeing Megan's face, and I said, there should be more women next to her.
Yeah.
And that was the turning point for me. That was the whole turning point. That was the catalyst. That's like what made me shift everything. And I went like head first. I made a fake blog so I could say I'm a journalist, so I can get my foot into the room everywhere. I got a column once a week in the AM New York talking about cocktails. I went to everything, went to every USBG meeting. I networked. I like any opportunity I could have education, I did it. Like, and I found this whole world like out there, and I knew I would grow beyond the sports bar, but I was so happy to be there as like to cut my teeth, to speed pour, to like know how to like build fast rounds, to like crowd control, like everything that micros sucks.
Oh my God, micros. Whoa.
Micros. But like I'm so grateful I started there and not a fancy cocktail bar, because my jump from there to Dead Rabbit was pretty quick. And like put those two worlds together, that's the craziest mashup a person can have. But it grew me. It gave me like the hard back to like really do anything in this biz.
Damn, that just gave me chills, because honestly, you looking at Megan, and of course I have the same affinity for Megan, but me also looking at you looking at, her and saying the same thing, that I felt the same way about, like, there's not a lot of babes that are owning bars and building bars, and,
Megan's like one of the biggest blueprints. And if everyone in this industry isn't looking to Megan Dorman, you're doing it wrong.
Oh yeah. No,
and I've always said that, like, bar none. I tell her this every time I see her. I text her. I'm like, you are amazing.
Yeah, she really is. She's an icon. I mean, she's an iconic New Yorker for sure. And the same way we talk about Sasha all the time, Megan should be spoken about in the same way, in the same regard. So, but that also makes so much more sense to me now that you wanted to be a children's author. I mean, it just goes. I mean, you still can be. I imagine you should put out cocktail books for children. Like,
I always wanted to make a really funny cocktail book called Mommy Mixes Margaritas on Mondays.
Yes! Oh my gosh!
But it's not for kids. It's obviously like an adult book, but it's like little stick figures, and it's like, and on Tuesdays she drinks like Tipperaries.
Do you remember the episode of Carrie in Sex and the City where Carrie is like going to see Big's ex-wife, and she wants to put out a children's book, and then it's all about smoking, and she's like, but for adults, she could smoke a cigarette and go anywhere. But just made me think of that. But like,
the fake pitch of the fake book.
Yeah, because she didn't know it was for children.
This would not be for kids.
Yeah,
this would be for adults, but in the kid style, like,
Yeah, no, I mean, but all these things coming together to see, book smart, street smart, smart, these two smarts you have together. Obviously, you've taken all of those things that you've done and we're passionate about. And yeah, like we all have degrees, right? We can all do a lot of things. We all sat in the school, but if we're pulled to this industry is because we want to use that other side of our brain too. We want to be able to get creative.
Yeah.
We want to be able to, you're a hot babe. You got to like be out there having fun. And obviously you can always write. One day I want to write books too.
Yes, you
But
should.
well, we want you out there. We want to see. We want more videos. You've used all your skills and then chosen the bar, and you're not just a bartender, but like I said, you've done so many things where there's so many different avenues you can take from the bar. And, in Vegas, when you were a club bartender, it was like, well, what are you going to do this until you're 40? In the nightclubs, you wear your corsets and you're dying behind the bar.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and I
what?
love it.
Yeah, well, I did love it. I've always been a very high volume, high intense. I mean, that just always was my background in the clubs.
Sure
And
thing.
you start your shift at 10, and then the first starts. People start in at 11:30, and then you don't even pick your head up until it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. But the music was always loud. I've always been a nightclub
Mhm.
person. Like I love.
There are incredible people in New York who are like nightlife. Like Evan Hawkins is an amazing example who owns Romeo's, right?
Mhm.
And Evan Hawkins is the nightclub king. Like he worked original Marquee, like all those places. He helped run them, open and everything. So like nightclub people, like high volume people are a different breed.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's incredible because I feel like those of us who worked in, like I worked at a huge ass Murray Hill sports bar. Like it's very similar, like those type of vibes. It's a different it's a warrior mindset.
Yeah, no, it
You
is.
know?
It's just like you got to come out alive. It is
Yeah.
not jigger. You don't have time to really. It's just like get it out or you're gonna die. Especially if there's a team on. But I do compare like high end like sports bars with that high volume to like high nightclubs. Everyone wants their drinks. They want them fast. They want them right now.
The person to shout out, the person who does it the best, better than anybody I know, is Candace Coy. Candace Coy is, again, if we're going to talk about blueprint people, Candace Coy is it, and because she still does it, and I don't know anybody who can be touched at the same level as like that woman. She can do anything. She can do your fancy bar. She can do your Montauk, like crazy all night. She can do your club. She can do your. I just saw her do an event with like 1,200 people at Capital. Like that woman literally is it.
Mhm.
She's a beast. She should be
Yeah.
studied. Her DNA should be replicated.
Yeah, well, and this is also something that comes through about you of and you said it in the beginning and you've said it multiple times is how you're building everyone else up. And it's just so beautiful about you, beautiful about what you're about. And doing that, you're giving courage and encouragement to so many other people. And that is the way we should, talk about someone to be studied. Like that should be studied. This is the way we should be doing things, is building each other up, seeing each other's talents and be like, this one is it. This one should be, no, this one we should all be, because feels better. It gets us better. And like you said, back to collabing. I mean, when we work together, we go, what is it? You can go far alone, but you go further together.
Yeah.
And so, staying in this industry, choosing it because we love it, because we're good at it, because we want to sharpen our axe, because we want to level up. Like I said, I bartended at a time a jigger didn't even exist. There was no such thing as a jigger. It was a count and a blind count, and you had to do your counts before you stepped on the bar. But, that was...
The youth don't know about the test.
They don't know about
The
that.
youth don't know about the test. I once won a free brunch for me and my friends at Sidebar right off of Union Square because the manager was like, "There's no way you know how to blind test," and I was like, "Yeah, I can do it." And it was like the 0.25, 0.5, 0.751, 1 point, the whole way down.
Yep.
And I nailed the whole thing, and then I turned it around and I was like, "Brunch is free, right?"
Brunch is
And
free.
my friends were like, "What just happened?"
Yeah. Oh my God, that's magic. The very first time I blind was at the Cheesecake Factory. So I used to be a chef at the Cheesecake Factory and then also wanted to learn the bar. And the Cheesecake Factory, 141 different cocktails, but you had to, before your shift with the little vessels,
I think it's important that we take a second to tell the youth what this is, because I think they don't know what this is.
Yeah.
There is a test that has 8 test tubes.
Yep.
And what happens is that there are lines like that says, and each one that says you have to hit a certain measuring pour just by pouring.
Yep.
No, and so what you would do is you go across with your counts
Mhm.
and you would hit it, and you would have to do that before you would start a shift, or that was like every week you had to show that you still could hit those counts, otherwise you couldn't be on the bar.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
these kids and their jiggers.
Yeah, they don't know. And I have four quarters and $1. Like depending on how you learned your counts, 4 quarters and $1. I mean, you were a dancer, like same thing with like steps. But yeah, you really had to know your counts. There was no such thing. And now even like I have the bars and my bartenders know that they have to use a jigger. But if I step behind the bar just to like pinch hit or help them out, like I don't use it. But I'm like,
But your
listen,
training's so different.
yeah, it's so different. It's so different.
The
And
free pour
the free
life.
pour life. Speaking of free pours, when I worked at the stadium, I brought in because they were trying to like cut down on the bars. I brought in those those mechanical electric speed pours. Have you seen those?
Oh,
With
yes. The ones that they cut off after an ounce.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my God. It was like, I don't even know, like maybe 2 months before we were ripping those things up because they kept malfunctioning or whatever. But they
Yeah,
were really.
those things don't work.
No, they don't work. So, yes, and we all know that there's going to be the angel share, but the jigger definitely helps with that. But then you
100%.
find that like you said,
It's very funny because I teach a lot of virtual cocktail classes and cocktail classes in person, and I think it's important that you always like introduce the tools. You're going to be using them. I think it's
yeah,
important. I'm very careful, and I've had to refine a lot of things that I say in the classes to make sure we are accommodating for everybody, but I always will pull out a jigger, and I always immediately go, a jigger is a measuring device we use to measure units of liquid that go into a glass. Because when you hear the word, it can be out of context. Like, you don't want people to think wrong things.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and I think that's actually really important because you could hear that word, it could trigger
yeah.
things. So I'm always like, a jigger is a measuring device we use to measure units of liquid that are put into the glass. And like, that is my line over and over. And I say it like the word happens and then the line. I think we always need to have clarity and context.
Yes.
Because we can use words that are very normal for us, but an average person has no idea what we're talking about. Like when we're like, yeah, the 10 on 10.
Yeah.
They're like, what are you talking about? And we're talking about a specific type of shaker.
Yes.
And it's so nerdy to say that, but I also think if we're not making all this accessible for the general consumer, the public, the people who are watching what we do and they want to make it at home, like, what are we doing? Let's
Right.
just like give them the tools.
Yep. And, teaching, it does, you have to, and remember, people learn different ways. They use their audio, their visual, they're a mix of both. You need to say it. You need to include I always say, use your words, guys, use your words, because in your brain, you already know, you're already at the end of it, but they just started. It's like brand new to them. It's like learning a new language.
I'm a tactical learner.
Yeah. And you're Duolingo, like you said. So you know how
Oh my
to
God, I love
teach
my
people
Duolingo.
bars.
Yes.
So
No, I am, but I'm a tactical learner. Like when we were at the Dead Rabbit, we had to memorize 72 cocktail recipes, and we were not allowed to get on the bar until we had a test. We had to take the recipes home, memorize them, and then we had a test. And if we didn't score, I can't remember the percentage, it was like 90% or 95%, we weren't allowed to start bar shifts. And I just remember they weren't as strict the first menu because we all were working through it to get the place open. But the second menu, I remember looking at the owners and I was like, I cannot learn this way. This is not, I said, once I make each of these drinks, it's in me.
yeah.
And they're like, you have to do it this way. And I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
like you're not accommodating. And
Yeah.
it was very difficult for me. And I failed the first test.
Well, but you listen, Kim, failed the first bar. She's, she get back up there. So
No, it's okay. Failure doesn't define anything.
No, you just get back up. A hit is a
Yes.
hit, but you just get back up and you'll get it. But yeah, sometimes, like, so for me in school, like certain subjects came very, very easy. Like I got A's in everything, in English and art
I
and
did not.
literature. But math I did not. I got the A, but I had to work extra hard to get the A
Sure.
because it was and what's crazy is because I love math because it's concrete. 2 + 2 = 4. Like
Sure
in English, you can read a sentence and it can mean a lot of things. But 2
That's
plus.
why I did really poorly in English.
Oh,
Because
okay.
my brain be like, well, I can interpret it this way. And my teacher's like, that's wrong.
Okay. What?
And
No.
math, I was like, this is actually the answer.
Yes, we'll see how our brains go, but we'll get to the same endpoint. Okay, so wrapping it up, I have a couple of last questions.
Yeah, shoot.
Number one, and I feel like you've already said so much, and I know you probably get asked this a lot, but it's one of those, piece of advice that you would give to a new New Yorker, somebody that's, wants to step on the bar for the first time, maybe a babe, maybe a dude, doesn't matter. I don't like to always keep it like, well, future females and this, that, and the other, but just like a future anyone that might want to step into your shoes or to follow in your path. What is some advice you might give to them?
Yeah, I think if anybody is interested in getting involved in hospitality or moving into the next step or working their way up, the biggest thing, I guess there's a lot of things I would say, but the biggest area I'd want people to focus on is authentically keeping a very like supported group around you, and knowing those people. I think there's a lot of niceties and falsehoods around us, and there's a lot of people who will use you with bad intention. And there can be a lot of fakeness. I think like when we talk about like community, there's like, and they think anyone who touches hospitality is your community. That's not true. Define your community, invest in those people, like really like fortify out those relationships so that those are the people who are constantly supporting you as you take your next step. If you're going in as a bar back, your bar team doesn't have to be your family. I need to make that very clear.
Yeah.
But use the opportunity to go out and like meet people other places, like find the people who have similar goals and aspirations, support them while they support you. And that mutual support is going to be like the building blocks to ensure that you're going to do great down the road. Like the people who support me in every step that I do right now, I have poured so much into over the past years, and like they have my back through and through. And they all work in different parts of this industry and outside the industry, of course. But just see through the bullshit. Once you detect the bullshit, walk away.
Yep.
You don't have to stay for the bullshit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And also I say, even when everyone else is like out partying or doing things, keep your head down, keep focused on you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go out until 4 a.m. every night to prove your worth. You don't have to like say you've made the best cocktail in the whole world and get it published in Time Out New York. It doesn't define anything. What defines you is your work ethic and what you put into it, and what you see the people who are coming to experience things with you are reaping the benefits of. Like that is the work. And because my like friends and my regulars from my bars should still support me.
Yeah.
And they're still with me today. And that's what I did. I have no problem telling people I got to where I am right now because I put my head down and I worked, and I didn't stay out late, and I woke up early, and I shook every hand, and I went on LinkedIn, and I went to every seminar, and I asked how I could help, and I did things for free, and then I did things for pay, and then I just did it. And I didn't make any fucking excuses.
Yeah, baby. Woo!
I didn't make any fucking excuses. And I didn't take any like weird cheap handouts. I like genuinely tried to build everything myself. And when people tried to tear me down because they were jealous, because they were upset, because if I made a mistake, they're like, let's just take her out for things, whatever. Any single way to do it, I would just say it's so much sucks to be stuck in that horrific mindset.
You got to be you.
I'm going to keep building because I'm a phoenix.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, I'm a phoenix.
Because I'm a
Cheers
phoenix.
to this phoenix right here. Excuse me. Wow.
So
okay.
But I encourage everyone, if you have the willpower to be a phoenix, and don't read the comment sections.
Don't read the comment sections. And damn, a lot of things you said, it goes, I have a lot of isms and things that I say each chapter in the book, but I will tell you that I always say like attracts like. And when you find someone that's like-minded, it's very easy to have this kind of conversation and your mind's like, yeah. Like I think the same way, I feel the same way. Because of course, these are the same things I always say. I say cut the fat, right? When it talks about relationships, people have been talking shit about me since I was born. I've always been, I always did my own.
Jealous.
And in my mind, I'm like, listen, if I can do it, you can do it too. But I also say, you're either the person with the excuses and the I'm sorry's, or you're the person that got up and did it. You green check, you make sure you make a note, you show up just like you said. People always ask me, how did you do it? There's like nothing magic. My superpower is saying I'm going to do something and then doing it. Mm-hmm. That's my superpower. You're sleeping, I'm up. I mean, that's any entrepreneur, any person that hustles, anyone that knows. And then of course, you get what you put out, and the universe will give you exactly what you ask for.
Mm-hmm.
People spend too much time scrolling, wanting the lives of others. I'm like, what kind of life is this to just spend it online saying, I want that? Like, go get it.
Yeah.
Get it.
I think the other, I think that's like such a big part, just like go get it. And the other part is like really learn to uncenter yourself. So I think the other thing is so many people are jealous in this world because they see, especially on social media, you see someone, you're like, I want to do that. Why'd they get to do that? And instead of doing that, take a step back and be like, that's fucking cool. How can I do something like that?
Yeah.
Or can I do something like that, but can I do it better?
Yeah.
Or can I reach out to that person and be like, looks like we like the same thing. Do you want to work on something together?
Yeah.
When you see something that you could have a negative reaction to, take a step back, uncenter yourself, and be like, how can I reframe this to be awesome? And there's so much power in that. And I want people to do more of that because they can really change the game of what can transpire, you know, when we do that. I also like to say, and I always say this is a funny story, I get asked, people are always like, oh, you have a blue check mark on Instagram, you bought that. And I always look them dead in the face. I go, I woke up one morning with it. I didn't ask for it. I literally just kept putting my head down and working. I don't care. Yep. I could have none. It doesn't define it. But like, that's my best example is like, didn't ask for it. Haven't paid a cent for it. Don't care about it. Glad we're all in the same room together.
Yeah.
You know, and like that is like the lesson. Just
Yep. Yeah.
it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, it's it's unfortunate also that is kind of where a lot of people's brains go. I always try to work against that. I don't ever like speaking in the negative, but it is like when I opened my first, they're like, well, who did she sleep with? I'm like, what? Are you fucking kidding me right now?
But who
Like it
but who,
was,
but who did she sleep with?
who did she sleep? A
Mm.
lot of men, but none that helped me get this place. So it's like wild. Like it always has been, because I always had straight A's, and then I've always been blonde. I've always, wanted to dress a certain way, but I also had AP courses. And so it was like, well, is she sleeping with a teacher? Is she sleeping with a landlord? Who is she sleeping with? I'm like, yo, if I could fucking sleep with somebody right now to get things, do you think I'd be here in a ton of fucking debt, like fighting to open up a bar? So it's a shame that that's like where our brains go with this like tear down of someone that is.
My best friend Matt has the best story in the world. I just want to put it out there ahead of time. My boobs are very small, but
Mine too.
he was at a bar. This is very relevant. He was at a bar one night with somebody in our industry who was very intoxicated, like super, super intoxicated. This was like years ago. And the person was complaining about me, saying some stuff about my success or whatever. And Matt is my best friend, like in this world, emergency contact, everything. Like, and the person's complaining about me, and he's like, she only gets on to do all that because she has such a big rack. And Matt turns to the person and goes, you can say a lot of stuff about Pam, but you actually can't blame anything on her tiny tits.
But the rack ain't it. So
I was like, that just goes to show that like you will find a scapegoat for anything.
Yeah.
They'll find a reason or scapegoat for anything, but that stems from jealousy, and that stems from insecurity, and that stems from not being able to access your own power.
Yeah.
And my wish for every person in this entire world is for everyone to find that little spark of power, because it does actually exist in all of us. So we can ignite it, and we can see that we can do anything that we actually want to do. And sometimes it involves somebody helping us to do it, but we can do it.
Yeah.
And that's all I really genuinely wish, like truly.
Yeah, no, let's cheers to that. Cheers to the spark of power that definitely lives inside of everyone. And let's let this be, two powerful women that get together, that spark, that are about everybody else's spark. You can reach out to her, you can reach out to me. We want to help. We want to help because at the end of this life, all that's left on your actual resume is the kind of person you were. And you want to leave this earth as being someone that built other people, that supported them, that I always say like help sharpen their axe. You don't want to walk off this earth being like, well, I talk shit, I tore them down. I could have been a better person, but I wasn't. So
No,
let's.
I always say the best thing you can do is wake up first thing. I always say another day above ground is a great day. And my other philosophy is try to be a better person every day than you were the day before.
Definitely.
And that is how I live life.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cheers to that, babe.
Cheers to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This is,